Hi, hello, this is Jules the Human here, and welcome to the JulesTheHuman Anime Hour. I'm one of your hosts, Jules the Human, and every week we go out into the world and watch a little bit of anime, and then we come back here and talk about it. And this week, brand new anime. The first time we're talking about Trigun Stampede. I'm super excited to get into a good anime. Santa has blessed us this Christmas with some great stuff from his sack, and we have so many other anime to choose from coming up in the next season, in the next coming episodes. All of these are up for grabs. Once we're done with Trigun Stampede, we do 3 episodes on this anime, and then we pick a brand new anime. And these are submitted by people in the live chat on Twitch. These are submitted by me, by Matt. All of these are coming up soon. So stick with the podcast, and we'd love for you to be a fan. And we also would love for you to watch these episodes with us. Episode 1 through 4, we'll be talking about today of Trigun Stampede. And I did not watch these alone. I watched them with my co-host, Matt Galley. Matt, how was your Christmas?
Christmas was good, but what was even better was this anime after what we experienced in our last viewing. Talk about a palate cleanser. Like,
Yeah.
oh boy.
And I don't want
I
to
was
say it's
whew,
like recency bias or anything, because it's like we're coming off this really bad anime. And if you want to see where it sits on our leaderboard here, it is Bakemonogatari is at the bottom, but it's
starting off
okay.
strong, baby.
Season 2 starting off strong, but like I don't it, I try to like separate my feelings, because I'm like, is this so good just because of what we watched previously? And I had to really sit and contemplate that, and I'm gonna say no, that it is just good on its own, and it's not because I'm coming off of something else. It's because this has a ton of stuff that we're going to get into, and I'm just really excited about it.
hmm
Really excited to talk
Good.
about it.
Yes. Again, I'd say that most parts of this show I found to just be fantastic. I mean, it's not necessarily doing anything that's like brand new necessarily, but what it is doing is taking a lot of like parts that are really starting to come together to be something that are that's worth more than the sum of its parts.
Sure. And I guess we got to say as well, like, I have not seen the original. I know there was an original one,
Yes,
probably a manga out
neither have
there.
I.
Matt hasn't seen any of it, doesn't know anything. I did watch the first episode of this when it came out earlier this year, but I just watched episode 1, and I thought it was great. I just didn't keep going with it. I don't know. I was weird, but yeah, I really enjoyed the first episode when I first watched it, and then this is my second time watching it, and then going forward. The only thing I knew, or the only thing I really saw, was like the iconic Trigun. I didn't even know his name, right? You see Vash on the Trigun on it. I think I've seen the manga cover a bunch of him with his
Yes.
gun. He looks super cool, super
Yes,
dope.
his the gun, the red coat he has, and the striking blonde hair. He has a very iconic look that
Mhm.
has, I would say, stood the test of time in character design. Um, that yeah, he's I mean, I haven't seen the original Trigun, but I would just call him an iconic character
Uh,
in how many times like I've laid my eyes on him across seeing that media uh
sure.
in its all different forms, yeah, like you said, manga and anime.
And you say stands the test of time because this is an anime that just came out this year, but I'm pretty
Yes.
sure it's like a reimagining or maybe a retelling, definitely reanimated version of this story. So let's get into it. We're going to be talking about Trigun Stampede, episode 1, No Man's Land. How does this anime start?
We get a sweeping shot of a fleet of spaceships marked Project Seeds before seeing on board things are quickly thrown into chaos. Two kids, Vash and Nye, are placed in an escape pod by an adult, Rem, who goes down with the ship in order to save them. We are then introduced to Roberto and Meryl, two reporters on the hunt for their next scoop on the planet uh, No Man's Land. Running out of gas and hoofing it across the desert, they meet Vash, an outlaw with a bounty on his head. They quickly discover that Vash doesn't seem like the type to have a bounty on his head, as in the nearest town over, he is looked at as a hero. Vash is asked by Rosa, the town's pseudo mayor, to help the town with another problem. One of the town's plants is dying, which presents a huge problem to them as the plants are very costly to buy. July officers arrive to arrest Vash, showing off his bounty in the process. However, Vash ends up in a duel after Roberto talks him up by proxy, with the officer launching a cluster bomb. Vash rushes to save the town before the bomb can detonate and cause destruction. Roberto asks Vash what he fears since nothing so far has seemed to phase him, to which he answers his twin brother, Millions Knives.
Whoo! What an episode. Shelves says he's an icon, he's a legend. Hello, Shelves. How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Man, dude, if there was in the running this year for, because it came out this year, right? I keep
Yes,
saying this year.
January.
I know it came out earlier this year. Yes, January. If there was like an award for best opening episode of an anime in 2023, I think this would be up there. Man, it really hit all the marks for me, and we're gonna dive into like the story bits, but like it adequately sets up danger. It adequately sets up our main characters, our focus, and it shows how the landscape is of the world that they're living in. It shows um the problems, the struggles, and you can instantly sort of relate to it, or at least understand what's going on in the template of which they're going to paint the brush strokes on of this anime. And it's so good. um we start off with Rem, who is sort of, as we know right now, the mother figure, seeing Vash and Nye off. She explodes. I We did try to watch this in English at first, but with English it didn't, the subtitles wouldn't show up in English, and we wanted
Huh.
subtitles as well for some reason. It might have been the TV, but um, the English voice acting was fine. It was good. I was like, oh, okay, I could actually watch this in English. This is fine. But when when Rem is there and she's like, one, I don't know, remember where it was, but I just remember the Rem scream. She just screams like insane. And I was like, oh my God, that voice actor is working. And I loved it. Just in that moment, I was like instantly like, here are the stakes. Here's what's going on. And it's crazy. Meeting Meryl and Roberto, instantly lovable.
Yeah.
Really like these characters, the
The
dynamics.
dynamic, yeah, it's great right off the bat. The whole call me by my name. No, I'm gonna call you by this nickname I'm giving you. This is your name.
Yeah,
Like, that's funny. That's
it's
funny
yeah,
to me.
that's funny. That's
I like
comedy.
stuff like that. When it can just be played off as casual, when it doesn't feel like it's being forced, and when it feels like it's coming as a product of the characters that are set up, their characteristics. Roberto seems like this. I've been there, I've done that. I've photographed and covered wars, bro, like
Yeah.
veteran. And
Mhm.
then you have this happy-go-lucky, like, I'm out for the biggest scoop and I'm gonna be the best because I was the best in academy, so that means I'm gonna be the best out here on the field. Like, those
Don't work
two,
like that.
yeah.
Don't work like that. And
the
that's where Roberto comes in.
That's where Roberto comes in, and because of that dynamic, we get moments where it realistically sets up certain exposition dialogue that I can accept without feeling like I'm being pandered to just because I'm watching something that needs to be given exposition. Like when they walk in and look at the plants, and they see this huge biological factory thing, and Roberto's just like, you know what this one of these things does, right, newbie? And she gives her little textbook definition,
Mhm.
and then he mocks her for it. Like, again, like that, even when it's giving that exposition, that dialogue, it feels like it's not being forced down my throat, which I
No.
like.
And it feels like these, like the banter feels fun. like you're saying, but it also feels in character and it makes you feel like these are living, breathing beings. Like they're lifting them off the page, giving them personality, and it feels normal. And you know a Meryl in your life, you know a Roberto in your life, and you know those kind of character archetypes, but now they're trying to bring these little animated figures to life, and I think it really works here.
And
Um,
speaking of just bringing them to life, the animation, like, does a huge, huge service to them and giving them expressiveness in every moment, honestly.
yeah,
I never found myself, looking at a character in that one frame where, like, they're
they're T
super they're
posing.
yeah, they're drawn, like, with 3 lines on their face or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's consistent their with their characters always looking just good on screen, always emoting and reacting to the things that are going on.
I could not stop looking at everybody's hair. Everybody's hair moves so well. Like this is the best animated hair because like I know it's very difficult even in video games we see it a lot where there's clipping, there's like little motion, and it's very hard to get hair correctly or for it to look realistic or as realistic as you want it to be. But the way that it would move, the way that it would move in the wind whenever someone leaned forward, Meryl's hair would kind of go down a little bit. Roberto has really nice hair for that too, and all the hair, especially with Vash, our main character, it just looks so beautiful. And I'm just like, wow, this is gorgeous. So animation is next level. This is
Mhm.
like animation from the future. Like this
It
is like
it's
the
it
next
does
level.
it does, a lot with the concept. I don't know if I see it as much in this episode, but it happens way more in the second episode with the concept of, animating on ones and animating on twos,
Mhm.
where in a lot of the more hyper, active moments where there's a lot going on with the character, they'll, switch between animating on ones or twos to kind of play with certain animation techniques like stretching and smushing and all of the good stuff. But it constantly feels dynamic in how the show's trying to handle presenting the action or the current the current set design, the current set piece to you.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes it'll be the foreground character on the ones and the background on twos, and then sometimes it'll swap. It's constantly playing with that. And I feel like even though this is CG, that's what helps give this so much life is that it's constantly being dynamic with how it's handling that because
Mhm.
we've watched another CG anime and that was the Duke of Death, and in that one the it was constantly consistent with animating on, I believe it was animating on twos like the whole time, and it just stayed consistent with that the whole time, which made it feel very like flat and lifeless even though it had a very cool look to it. Everything had like this stiffness and mannequin look
Yeah.
to it, but they don't look stiff. They look like you said, that just the hair piece, the part about hair, it all looks good in how it moves. The clothing looks good. The characters' faces are fluid and again constantly reacting and expressing emotion depending on what's happening. It's impressed me very, very much with all of the animation, considering that this is a CG animated show, and I usually find myself having a preference towards 2D hand drawn animation.
Mhm. And I think if we can be consistent with CG like this from now on, um, this is it. This is what
Yeah,
I like. This is the animation that I'm okay with, and it finally feels like you said with the Duke of Death, it just felt so mannequin like. And I think here is a studio that did it correctly, and it just feels great and it looks so amazing. All the colors, every scene is dynamic in so many different ways. We
The new Puss in Boots movie and the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movies are
yeah.
also great examples of constantly pushing the medium forward in CG animation with how they handle being dynamic in the different techniques that they use to complement CG instead of trying to force the things that normally work in traditional hand drawn into CG, because they're not the same, and
Mhm.
that's okay. They have different strengths, and clearly we're starting to see that.
We got to meet our main character, Vash, the gunman, the Vash the Stampede, the humanoid typhoon. This man, we
Who,
found him in the
yeah,
desert,
at
just
first glance
strapped.
just seems like a silly little guy.
He, after seeing that cover art of him so many times, this is not what I expected. I
Yeah,
expected him to be the coolest gunman in the West, the wildest shot, and then the first scene that we see him in is him being a little goofy, him being a little goofball, and being a little silly, and his little fluffy hair and stuff. He has a mechanical arm. We still don't know the story on that.
nope.
What's that about? But he has a gun and he seems cool. And it just wasn't what I was expecting. He's just a silly little guy. He's just a silly little guy. Are you ready for this road that he's going to take us on? After this first episode, was he who you expected to be the
He
Trigun?
was not who I expected, but he was exactly who I needed.
Okay, this
Man, oh
guy.
man. I mean, I was just talking to you a little bit about it before. Um, I've been playing a lot of Fallout New Vegas recently, and
Hmm.
that's essentially a post-apocalyptic Western story where most of the quests design and stuff like that that you encounter in that game harkens to cowboy and Indians
Hmm.
style storytelling, and that's what we're kind of starting to get here in a space western with this setup. And I mean, when I think space western, I immediately think something more along the lines of Cowboy Bebop, because western doesn't have to be, especially when you're talking about a space western, doesn't have to be in like the old, the wild wild
No,
west type setting. It's a specific type
feel,
of, yeah, feel.
because
And
Star Wars is a western. And they say it's a western in space, and that's what they try to go for, is that type of feeling. And it's the same thing, even though it has space, lightsabers, and all
yes, exactly.
that.
So we're getting this set up to that type of a story, which is usually very cutthroat and usually very like an eye for an eye style. But again, in something like Fallout New Vegas, you have RPG design where it's very pick your own story, like be the good guy, be the bad guy, be the in between, whatever,
Hmm.
whatever. But I feel like in anime, it's more often than not that you have the protagonist, the hero, set up to be more than willing to use violence to solve the problems
Sure.
that they're presented with. And here you have somebody who's being presented to us as our hero, who's doing everything like in their power to be non-violent,
Hmm.
as we see moving forward. And it's a very interesting setup for this type of a story.
Hmm.
It intrigues me very much, and you get this constant. And in the first episode, you get a constant question of who is he scared of, but then after that, we get posed with a question of like, whose side are you on? And again,
Sure.
like with a cowboys and Indians setup, a western space western setup, it does paint a very like interesting picture of like what is he actually after. We start to get an idea of what he likes, of something along those lines, but like what is his actual goal in this world?
Yeah, because we don't know anything about him. We don't know his arm. That's like the physical thing that we can see. We don't know why he's the way he is, why he doesn't want to hurt anybody. We can kind of get a inference of that,
Yeah,
but they haven't said it to us. Why he won't use his skills that he clearly has. And how, how this happened? How did he get on the wrong side of his, face
yeah.
that he has? We got to get going because we're still on episode one.
Yeah, sorry.
The gunshot. See, this is the cool part, and this is how we make a cool character. The gunshot was insane. The gunshot to
Yes.
break into a million pieces, to tamper with all the little cluster bombs, a little like hair outside of my believability for sure. But still, him saying at the end, whenever Meryl asks him, like, how'd you know that was gonna happen, or how'd you know that was gonna work? He's like, I really didn't think that was gonna work. I don't know, man. It that was pretty cool. He's just like, yeah, I don't know. I love that part of him. I love that part where he's just doing stuff because that's what I see like in Doctor Who, because I'm watching a lot of Doctor Who right now, where he's just like, I'm gonna do a thingy and it's gonna come out right, I think, because I believe it will. Because he has that belief that the thing that I choose to do will be the right thing and it will solve. And it's in the last second of everything. And here we are getting the one bullet right to him, shooting, throwing a rock up there and doing it and saving the town. And what a cool way
I
for episode one to end.
I do agree that, like, breaking it up with The Rock was a little unbelievable, but I'll also pose that, like, the guy shooting the cluster bomb in the first place was just a little bit like,
Sure. He
unbelievable.
went
I was
super
just
maniacal whenever he
yeah.
actually did like his tongue wagging, like, ah,
Yeah,
like
it
all that
was
stuff.
like, "What's going on?
Yeah.
Aren't you here to arrest this guy and not destroy the
Pride.
town?"
A lot of pride there.
Uh, why
We get
he got a
introduced.
gun, shoot him, just shoot
Yeah.
the guy, like, that's what I just okay, yeah.
We get
Moving on.
introduced to Millions Knives, who is his brother, who is Nye, we're assuming, from the very beginning. And man, such a cool episode. I think it's one of the best intro episodes because it sets everything up. It gives us the overarching story. It gives us our main character that we are really like by the end. Somebody that's cool. The visuals are
Likeable.
amazing. Very, very awesome. So on a first episode, it's great. It's a great one.
First episode, I'm liking it a lot, and I would agree that it's one of, if not the best first episode we've like had in terms of you could watch this first episode and know whether or not you're going to be in for the ride by the end of the first episode.
Sure.
Um,
And it's cool if you're not,
yeah,
but
exactly. But you're
it
gonna know for sure. It's not gonna be a it's no, I think I really like this, or
mhm,
I don't think I like this. It's I think there's just two camps here.
for sure. Episode 2, The Running Man. What happens in episode 2?
Vash gives Roberto and Meryl the lowdown on his twin brother. However, it is quickly interrupted as the entire town figures they can capture Vash in order to buy a new plant. Catching him at the gate of the town, new trouble begins to roll in as the Nebraskas conveniently decide to steal Vash from the town. Vash escapes in the commotion, and the Nebraskas pursue. However, they decide to double back to the town to steal the plant that's not dying. Vash, Roberto, and Meryl all follow back to help the town once again, with Vash arriving just in time to put a stop to the theft of the plant. Helping everyone overcome their differences in the meantime, Vash attempts to sneak out of town during celebrations. However, more trouble ensues as Gosef, Nebraska is attacked by spider bombs that detonate in front of the tavern.
Dude, every scene just looks look at these bullet
Yeah,
or this bullet that got split in
everything looks
half.
so good.
Oh my
Maybe it's because
god.
we're just not watching something in 480p. No, I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
yeah,
See, that
it's
too. Coming from
I
an anime that was in 480 and now
listen,
it's better than my eyesight.
I have now screenshotted many frames of different anime, and every single frame of this one was gorgeous, and it was very hard for me at times to like single out which one to choose because honestly, yeah, everything out of this show just looks so good. It has so much life and detail put into it that it just really feels like they gave the show the time it deserved and the attention that it needed in order to shine as a finished
Yeah.
product.
It's so nice. So beautiful to watch. So we get the Nebraskas, and it's happened a couple times in the next episode, and I think in episode 4 as well, where I really love uh oh, lemon water. The whole show constantly looks gorgeous. It does. It is so beautiful. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. Um Man, I love that the unseen character of the radio is there constantly and giving us information, feeding us information that
Yeah.
we will
Again,
use
that's
later on.
it's again stuff like that, just like ugh. Fallout New Vegas, man. That in in that game, just everything that you do is constantly being fed back to you on the radio. Like, oh, there was a shootout in the nearby town, and a local wanderer helped save the town from the troublemakers. It's very what like ins it's taking inspiration from all over the place. The bounty posters, the radio,
Or was
being
this old enough to be the inspiration for all of the other stuff?
that's what I mean. It if I haven't
I
seen
don't
the original Trigun, so I can't speak on it, but at least looking at this one in a vacuum of January this year, um, it's it's got inspiration all over the place. And if it does draw back to the original Trigun, then yeah, you can it's inspired a whole heap of other things since then. And I'm sure it has, regardless. Again, we've already talked about how iconic the character design and such is that that alone has probably been an inspiration for countless characters that
Mhm,
we've seen since then.
sure.
But
The information that
information being fed via radio.
about the Nebraskas, and I love that that's the thing, and that it gives us information without us getting like a huge exposition from a character, like, "Oh, the Nebraskas, I heard they blah 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 blah," whatever, and it's like, no, this is like in the back, and here's a little snippet, and you may use that later, and oh, look, here they are, and we don't need no introduction. We already know they broke out of prison and all this stuff is so good. Hello, Claire. I'm here. I read the book. Who's ready to talk about the Darkhold? What
The
book?
who?
There's a book? I missed it. Um, hello, Claire. Welcome. The Nebraskas came to challenge Vash for, but okay, before that, um, the town turning on him. We see the connection to
Yes.
Rosa, the connection to, um, how Vash saved their town not too long ago, a couple times
Twice.
in the past years, and now they're turning on him,
Mhm.
and
Realistic.
it's yeah, and it's believable because this is their water source. They made it
Yeah.
so important that this thing is what we need to survive. And from what we saw, there's no other town within like a couple miles.
Yeah.
And the even the water that they're getting from a town over
Is
is
dirty.
very dirty. And
And
them turning
they're
on Vash,
yeah, like Rosa says, they're not a bunch of adults, at some training camp. They're a town of families that have children that they need to look after.
that
And
she
right
is
there, it's like,
thinking,
yeah, I believe they're ready to do anything to get that plant working again
sure, no matter how much you like somebody or what they've done to you,
in this type of a story.
in
At
this
least,
type of
yes.
yeah, in this type of situation, if you are your head on a pike is worth 6 million, which is exactly what it needs to get water to the entire town, I'm doing it. Claire says, wait, is this not book club? No, that's the
Oop,
next stream over. We're talking about Trigun Stampede.
book
But
club starts at, 2
yeah,
hours.
book club in a couple hours. Man, it makes sense and it's believable and it has you feeling things because she is pregnant consistently and she takes a couple too many falls, which is kind of took me out a little bit. I was like, oh, she's fallen quite a bit for a pregnant lady, but it's fine. So it's believable and I understand and I'm not mad at the townspeople. They're just doing what they have to do, and I
And I and
totally
I
get it.
and he I that Vash understands that too, and that's why
Yes,
he
for
goes back
sure.
to help.
Because they're people that need the water.
Mhm.
He wants to help people. He wants to save people.
I would believe even that if he was presented a situation where, like, it was a direct exchange, like, "Hey, we're the Nebraskas, we have a plant and we want Vash, we'll give you the plant for that for Vash." I believe that he'd be like, "I surrender myself so they can have the
Sure,
plant." Like, he would at the drop of a hat, but it's
it didn't shake
it's
out that way.
present yeah, it didn't shake out that that way, and a lot happens really quickly, and that's like, the we talk about the passage of time, and it really feels like it's just this huge chaotic amount of things, like, happening within the time frame of, like, a day at this point,
Mhm.
where we haven't seen them, like, stop to really, like, sleep or
No,
stuff, it's just been constant going.
CZ says, "What? I was here for Rock and Stone. God damn, all this shooting rocks and shiz." Hello, CZ. Welcome to the stream. Man, Trigun Stampede do be stampeding. Let me tell you, it is fantastic. So the Nebraskas come to challenge Vash whenever they are chasing him. The music is something I noticed in this scene. The music has been great, but it really amped up whenever they were chasing him. And it just it was all good. It's a total package. I don't know what to tell you. It's
Yeah.
nothing sticking out. Everything is adding to the product, and it's just a fun time.
Like,
Um,
go
the
ahead.
pacing is basically the opposite of the last show. It's
Yes.
great.
It's very, this show understands show don't tell, but sometimes like you just show and tell,
Mhm,
but you never tell don't show.
mhm.
It's a
Um,
very, very fine line.
sure. I'll admit, didn't watch the episodes. Christmas be too much, but here to support the stream. Thank you so much, CZ. It's
Thanks,
okay.
easy.
But
But
if
like
there's
Shelb said
anything,
earlier when we started talking about that, the
oh, I
action is
missed it.
just so good in this episode. Um, Yeah, it's like it's just chase scene into a standoff that ends in a very satisfying conclusion, in my opinion. Again,
Hmm.
we get this protagonist that's willing to just do everything to have the non-lethal outcome because as he later asks, is fighting head on really worth it if somebody has to die?
And he even says it like, I don't want to, I want to save you too.
Yeah.
Like he tells the Nebraskas, I want to save you too. What does that mean? I think it means that he wants to make them good, or at least understand goodness, or understand that people are in need as well, so that could be considered helping, but also help them from the town, from them, the town retaliating, from them trying to steal the water source. And it's just, I don't I love that's what his thing is. He
I
wants
think
to help.
he's a person that would think that at the end of the day, people aren't bad. They just do bad things because of the situations they're in.
And
And
it's
it's like,
because
what's causing you to do this? And I'm willing to help.
and that's setting up the future story of when he finally gets to his brother, I'm assuming. And you can look into the future about it, and it
Yep.
will feel so much better when we actually get there than me explaining. But it's going to get to him versus his brother and say, it's okay, it's okay, man, whatever you're going through, I understand, and I'm here for you, and I forgive you, and everything's fine, and come back to me. And then his brother ultimately saying, no, fuck you, or whatever, and it's gonna
But
hurt.
his brother says something pretty interesting in the at the end of the first episode that we didn't talk about, when he says it flashes back to the night it happened. The ships broke, and he says, like, "You're my accomplice,
Hmm.
right, Vash?" And I again, like, that makes me question if the show hasn't presented certain information about the ships blowing up, because
Sure.
it's now led us to believe that Nye is the one who caused the entire fleet to explode, but ensured that all the plants would land on this planet, and that's what's now providing the life to this planet, is all of these plants. But he's we'll see in the next episode. He's on a hunt to take them away from the unworthy,
Sure.
something like that.
I don't know. So Gossip explodes. Rip this man, and we get a pretty cool cliffhanger, because I was like, well, we got to do the next episode,
Yeah.
because it's a wild puff of smoke, and then credits roll. How do you like the intro of
Oh,
the
it's
anime?
really good.
It's a great
It
song.
looks good. It's a good song. After the first one, I did skip it just because, like, even though the visuals are good, um, they're very minimalistic,
Yeah.
and it's not providing like any sequencing or anything that provides any spoilers, which I like,
Hmm.
at least so far from.
Sure.
But yeah, I didn't watch it after, like, the second time, which because it runs on the
It runs
end
on the end of
credits, and then it
episode
runs off
one.
the start of the next. No, I watched it twice to make sure I liked it, and then I was like, "Yeah, I like this,"
It's good.
but I don't need it every time.
Yeah, for sure.
But then this episode we get the end credits, which they're all right.
Good.
They're
Yeah.
good.
I
Yeah,
mean,
they do the
I'm
job.
should I don't know if that's good that we are fine with it, or if it's better for, the end credits and the opening scenes to be better than the actual anime. I think I'm fine with the intro and
Yeah.
outro being fine and having a great show
In
than
between.
us being like, well, the intro is good. I don't know about the anime. You know what I mean? Uh
Man, oh
Fucking
man.
Monogatari, yeah.
How
Episode 3,
times
Bright
changed.
Light. Episode 3, Bright Light Shine Through the Darkness. What happens in episode 3?
The entire town finds themselves being held hostage by E.G. Bomber as Vash rushes to get the culprit to give up the way to defuse the bombs. E.G. shows off a new vehicle announcing his new name is E.G. Mine, and Vash manages to stop him defusing the bombs. However, Vash realizes that there are much bigger problems on his hands. His brother is in town and begins to wreak havoc on its denizens, ripping the town to shreds and leaving with both of the plants in hand, red and blue. Rosa demands that Vash immediately leave the town, remarking that if he had never been here, none of this would have ever happened.
Valid.
So he leaves,
So
heading
he
east
goodbye.
for July. You're a
So
liar.
this yeah. So this is the only part that I had sort of an issue with the CGI, but I get it because there's so many things going on in this thing.
Bro, they
That
really
big
said million knives.
Yeah, I was
It's like, oh,
now I get it.
fuck.
I didn't get it. Honestly, I did not get it till you just said it. It's literally a million knives.
Literally million knives.
Oh.
You did the thing. Yes. Leo
Oh.
point.
Bro, I just thought it would look cool. I was like, "That looks dope." Yeah. Caitlin's probably the same. 'Cause I did not. Oh, a million knives. It all makes sense now. That's why they call them millions knives. Shit, dog. So we get EG Bomber, who is the one that placed all these little bombs. And this anime is so good because we saw these little bombs in the first episode. We
Yep.
see them in the background of the second.
Yep.
I thought it was like something
Just
that
some
helped
native
out.
animal.
Sure,
Yeah.
I thought it was like something that Vash used because it was in the background whenever Vash was in his little area working on stuff, and I thought it was like for his arm or something that he used for that. And I was like, okay, whatever. And we've seen these bombs and they placed them in shots, and I'm
Yep.
just like, whatever. But this guy has been here the whole time.
Yep.
He's been putting them in the
He's
whole
in the
time.
walls.
He's in the walls, literally. So he has these little bombs. There's bombs everywhere. They're lashing onto people, and he's just watching from the top. And
If
it's so crazy.
if there's one thing, if there's one little itsy bitsy thing I could complain about, but I could even give it a reason out of the scene.
Sure.
Why did Gosef's bombs almost immediately detonate, but everybody else's bombs are just like, oh yeah, let's figure out how to detonate them, and they're just going around for a while. And I mean, you could attribute it to the fact that Gosef had like 20 of them on him.
Sure.
And so maybe more bombs in a cluster detonate quicker. But it never
I
really
think
explains that.
I think that EG Bomber wanted to take out the biggest looking guy first. So he detonated them first,
He
and then
says
he was at
something
the top.
later. He says something later, that the bombs are, or that like EG Bomber reacts later when Vash tries to do something, and he says, "You're not going to get me with that trick again," or something like that. It's almost implied that that is not their first confrontation, and even
Mhm.
how Vash is immediately like able to spot him out and kind of flush him out with with his positioning so quickly.
Yeah. And he looks pretty fucking cool. I like this character. I'm a big fan of the crazy like bomb or gun specialist in like anime or shows. I love
Munitions.
the crazed person that has wild things that come out of nowhere, and he came out of nowhere with this contraption. Um, and we let's see here. Claire says, I kind of figured he was there for the chaos, so the first bomb is detonated so he can watch them panic. Yeah, that
There
could
you
be it
go.
too.
Yeah. That's why I was like, if
I'm
there's
down.
one thing that like didn't get, but you can, yeah, there it is.
Attribute it to something and
There
it'd
it is.
be
And even what's his name, Roberto goes on to say that like they like to watch their work happen, you
hmm.
know.
And we see him run to or drive to the sound of a piano, who is his master, and he immediately gets torn apart with his
Uh-huh.
arms on, and even like the little swaying doors attribute to the Western feel.
Exactly.
It's so good. I love that. But we get the face to face of brothers here, uh trying to figure out what's we still haven't seen his face fully, which is something that probably will play into later, or it could just be him like metaphorically shadowed or being hidden, or his true
This is
intentions
not
hidden.
Nye, this is Million Knives.
Yeah, so I love that they haven't shown his face yet completely. And then we get this thing that happens,
This
which
thing
is
that happens
really interesting, because
and
after the
sets
face,
up good questions.
because what's his name? Vash goes to this place, and Millions Knives says, you can't even control your gate yet. What is that? You can't even
Yep.
control your gate yet? What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What is that about?
We can probably think that whatever that means is whatever Millions Knives taps into in order to do Millions Knives.
Sure.
So
So
he probably taps into some sort of power that they as siblings both have access to. Maybe everybody in that fleet had access to, but because Nice did what he did, those two are probably the only two survivors with a with the
handle
ability
on
to
this
unlock a gate.
ability. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, because I do have my own theories as well about what's actually going on, and I wanted to hear what your thoughts were. But
Let's
I
hear your
think
thoughts, yeah.
that there's humans here, and that Vash and Millions Knives are not human. There's something else. Kaylin attributed to something like Superman concept, to how they crash land to Earth. They are above human somehow, and they have some sort of power that they can tap into. What I'm thinking, which I think what you were kind of saying as well, was that Millions Knives did this on purpose so that he could be the only one here with that kind of power, killed all the fleets. And that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, is that he figured out his power, and for some reason nobody else in these fleets was using him for bad. All of them was good. It was a peaceful colony, and then we had one that wanted to take over somehow, and
And
he
that's the
did it.
thing too. It seemed like the fleet was maybe on some sort of pilgrimage or a some sort of relocation because everybody else seemed to be in some sort of a cryo sleep and
Hmm.
Rem, Vash, and Nye seemed to be the only people that were like
Awake.
awake. Yeah. So the show doesn't really kind of leaves that open ended, which I'm totally okay with for the time being. The
Hmm.
story that it is telling doesn't need to present that information immediately, but I do hope that it does kind of get explained
Sure.
before the conclusion of our story.
Claire says, we see everyone sleeping on the spaceship, so I had wondered if the two of them are robots. It explained Vash's insane reaction speed. I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah,
I'm fine with them being some sort of robotic thing because of his arm. Because we do see that he is part robot already, and
but
it wouldn't
like
be too hard to
they,
bridge the
they've
gap.
they've grown. So it's like maybe not robots but androids, but then it's yeah,
Androids,
I don't know.
robots
Maybe
in
the replicants, maybe they're
sure
clones
could be
because they're
clones.
twins. So maybe they were
Mhm.
like
But we can all universally agree that we don't think that they're human, or whatever
they're
human is.
they're some sort of a yeah. They're not human as
This world
presented
sees
as
it.
the other people that we've seen so far,
Mhm.
other than the two of them.
So he immediately he says that to Vash. Can't even control your gate yet. immediately tries to kill these women of the town, which shows how ruthless he can be. And
That
then
other guy tried to warn him,
he,
but
and then we get all of these things, a million knives here, destroying the there it is, destroying the whole town. We don't know why, what's happening. And again, the town blames Vash because it says this would have been fine without you. And again, giving me Doctor Who vibes because I've been watching a lot of Doctor Who. It's like this is the some in some colonies or some places the doctor is considered the oncoming storm, this thing that happens, and when he comes to the place, it makes it everything worse. But he's there to help, and he just happens because of the time machine. He just happens to be there at the time that the thing is happening. So people blame him for it. And he's the oncoming storm, and he's feared amongst the universe in some parts. So it's like it's giving that same vibe because it's like I'm just here, man. I'm really trying to just help, but I don't know how much of a fault it is that my brother was here, that all these other things happened. How much is Vash at fault here? And I don't think he is very much.
I don't
Bubsy
think he
says
is
switch up
very
the
much,
vibe
but
real quick.
it's hard to see that in things in that light when half of the town has been killed and it's been entirely destroyed. And
Sure.
your live child is now in your arms, like potentially maimed.
Yeah. We
It's
don't
hard
have
to see things like that.
sure.
You blame's got to be put somewhere, and it's very. I don't know if it'd be ironic or just hypocritical because just last episode, the same person now blaming him for everything and sending him out of town pointed a gun barrel right in his face and said, "If you want to blame anything, just blame bad luck." It's like, oh,
Hmm.
but now everything's his fault
Hmm.
because that's his brother. Sure,
They're grieving. They're hurt,
exactly.
and it's
But
understandable.
yeah, it's understandable, and again, it goes along with the themes of this story even. You could even harken all the way back to Avatar: The Last Airbender in the episode where Zuko is in the Earth Kingdom just trying to get by, and he's taken in and looked after, and he fights off marauders from a barn and stuff, but then they find out he's Fire Nation because he had to use his fire bending in order to get them away. So then he is upfront about, yeah, I'm actually the prince, and they're just like, you have to leave. Like, you can't be here.
Hmm.
And it just, yeah, it harkens back to a lot, and yeah, a lot of other media for sure.
Don't have a lot of time, and
Oh yeah. We're talking a lot.
we
Sorry.
haven't met my favorite character yet. So episode 4, Hungry. What happens in episode 4?
The entire town finds. Oh, I'm sorry. Episode 4, not 3. Meryl accidentally crashes into a man carrying a huge cross, looking for help.
This
looking for
oh god, I did not see that.
looking for help at a nearby station. They find, excuse me, they find its inhabitants slain, save for a young child hiding in a locker. The entirety of the building is quickly swallowed up by a grand worm. Regaining their bearings, the child quickly disappears, causing them to split up in search. Meryl and Roberto both disappear as well, leaving Vash and the man carrying the cross. They are both ejected from the worm, realizing they were in its nose, and Vash readily dives back into the worm after realizing Meryl and Roberto didn't get ejected as well. Also, realizing the child was the one controlling the worms all along, the cross man reveals he was holding a laser gun the whole time. The kid departs as the cross man bisects the worm using a focus blast, later revealing that his name is Nicholas D. Wolfwood. And we see also that he and the kid were in cahoots the whole time. Lastly, away somewhere else, we see a scene with Millions Knives discussing how Vash has still not opened his gate, and they will destroy him if it's what it takes for him to open it. Why does
Brother,
he
the
want this?
cross was a railgun the whole
The
time,
fucking
dude.
laser. a laser rifle.
Oh my god. So we get again, it's very goofy, it's very silly, and it does it so well where I feel okay to laugh. I feel like this is fun, and then when it gets serious. But him getting hit by the goddamn car, so good that he looks so cool here, and I'm like, ooh, who's this mysterious man? And boom, like you put Zombieland Saga all over again. It's so crazy. The power of Railgun compels you. Oh my goodness. Every episode has its own unique villain. Yes, for sure. It's giving like we said in past anime, it's giving monster of the week, but it like we talked about in the previous anime not to be named, there's a good way and a bad way to do monster of the week,
Yeah.
and this is
To
fantastic. I
like
love
kind of thread out and give different vignettes of parts of the story.
because again I think we get something on the radio on this one, and it doesn't feel forced, and we understand where the story's going. We have an overarching thing, and we have like little mini arcs of finding new characters, finding new people, something happening. And it does feel like Vash's bad luck here because of the worm part, but we find out later about
Yeah.
the reason for that.
Yes.
And we find out the guy what did he call himself? Not the coroner. He called himself something else, but Nicholas D. Wolfwood,
He I
the
forget. I
not
forget.
executioner. He called himself something, whatever it was called. He grew up in an orphanage. We found
Undertaker.
Undertaker.
There it is.
There it is. He was the Undertaker. Thank you. And he grew up in an orphanage. We get some like backstory a little bit about what he's doing. We find out he doesn't really know what he's doing because he's like, what do I
Or
say
he's just
here?
really bad at it. One or the other.
I don't know
He
if he's
either
really bad at it. I think he was trying to conceal his railgun as a cross, and I think he was
ah,
just filling in the blanks. So I
that's I like that one better.
yeah, that he has a railgun specifically shaped like a cross. He's like, well, what can I do with this? Oh,
What do I do with this
let me
thing?
just pretend, pretend to be an Undertaker here. Uh,
Yeah.
they
I
get
like
thrown. Yeah, sure,
I like after they get thrown inside and everybody starts to go missing, how Roberto starts to grow suspicious of him. And
sure.
it like I buy into it for almost a second, but like I knew the kid was the problem. I mean, we knew
I
that. Did we
didn't.
not? Oh,
No, I was okay with it. I was okay with, the kid being alone for some reason and this whole thing happening and they go missing. And I was just like, oh, this is classic monster, something inside. I thought, I don't know. I did not think that.
I only knew it was the kid because I was like, well then if it's how did the people like die?
Mhm.
If it's Big Worm, like the kid's the one that killed the people then,
Yeah.
or like
Oh,
that's
okay.
what I start
Nope.
thinking. I mean, so then I don't think that initially the kid's the reason for the worms, but I did think the kid was like the like villain, so to speak, because it's like it's presenting two new characters, right? And it wants us to believe Cool Guy McGee is the bad guy, but there's the plot twist character like right there in front of me. So like that was like me
Sure.
watching the episode, I guess.
Because they keep alluding, or at least Nicholas keeps alluding to like, you're leaving yourself open, man. Vash,
Yeah.
you're not being suspicious enough. You're not doing this. What are you
And
doing?
that's the
You're
thing, it ends up that, like, he actually is possibly,
sure.
probably not a friend,
Hmm.
so to speak. He might and, because we find out that he's a hired hand, so he's just working for where the money's sending him.
But why would he? I I guess him. Okay, it does explain it sort of. I answered my own question. Him taking down the worm was him showing good faith to join Vash's group.
Yes.
Was showing that he can handle himself, and what a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
And for him to gain access to Vash's group. I was distracted by the cool character to see the real bad guy. Yeah, I so wanted to know about Nicholas and his whole story. I loved his dialogue. So cool and so mysterious. And when he busted out that railgun, so dope. So we find out that this person is Zazzy the Beast, who is in cahoots with Nicholas
That
somehow.
part I didn't see coming.
No, they're just hanging out and for something. for reasons we don't know yet. We don't know really what's going on. Are they with Millions Knives? I don't know.
Maybe.
We also didn't talk about the doctor that showed up in the last episode. The doctor came with a daughter, with his little girl, and the big robot helping Millions Knives
Yes.
take the water plant. We have no
He's the one that
clue.
was like, "Hey, don't try to fight this guy. You don't
Yeah,
stand a chance." And they still shot at him.
we have
Sad.
no clue what their story is either, but very interesting. Love like little girl, big robot, a la Clara from Honkai Star Rail. Love all the
Or
juxtaposition of that.
BioShock, Little
Bioshock,
Sisters and Big
little
Daddies.
sister. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And
We learned
even
out
in
Trigun is everywhere.
yeah, sorry, Trigun is everywhere.
Trigun is
Or
everything.
is everything Trigun? Is
I don't
everything
know.
a Trigun reference?
Yeah, is everything a Trigun? Is this a Trigun reference with the butterfly? We gotta see if anybody knows when the original Trigun came out, or if it's a manga. I'm pretty sure it's a manga. When the original manga came out, because it feels like the 80s, feels like somewhere along there. Matt's gonna do some research while
Yeah,
I talk a little bit, but um, we find out that the gate
98.
is something that 98. Oh, so
98.
that came out before Bioshock and all that,
Yeah.
before all these stuffs. Okay, cool. Oh, it feels
These
okay.
characters might not be in the original series. Everybody that I've seen, like I've looked in the Crunchyroll comments specifically for like people that are comparing it to the original. Like those
Mhm.
are the keywords I'm looking for. And most people are like, "Oh, who cares if it's not like the original? This one's good." So I
Yeah,
don't know how many elements are, removed or changed, altered, whatever
sure.
um, from the original story, because
Okay.
this is a reimagining that it's a readaptation, I guess you could call it, or reimagining.
Okay.
And that's where the Stampede separates it.
Mhm. Bubsy says the original is great, but I like the
I'm gonna need a
changes.
list of all of those annotated, please.
Everything that's different, please. All the different outcomes here. But they're working together. There's a gate that my man Vash can access that he can't access yet. And Millions Knives is going to go stop at nothing for him to access it and I guess be on his team or be on his side somehow. Man, Matt, I'm so excited to continue this anime. This looks gorgeous. It's fun. It's silly. The
So easy to
action's there.
watch.
I just want to keep going.
I'm
So,
not wanting to like put claw marks
sure.
against my face
Because it also
as I'm
gives
watching
me,
this one.
yeah, it gives me stuff that I don't know and I'm intrigued by, and stuff that surprises me a little bit. Some cliffhangers, some really cool characters that I'm really behind. So I'm excited. I don't even want to like, we kind of know where it's gonna go, and I don't even want to like yet say like do predictions about the anime because I just want to let it. I just want to let it
Give it
wash
some
over me.
air.
I
I
just
just
want
want
to
to give
let
this
it
one
go.
some air. Yeah.
And I'm super excited about continuing to watch this one. Matt, when we are not in no man's land, where can the people find you?
You can find me streaming on my Twitch at Matt_Galley. Been playing some Final Fantasy 14 and some, what's the other game? I'm forgetting its name.
Fallout,
Not that one, but
RimWorld,
not that
League of
one.
Legends,
Uh not Jet Set Radio. The
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, I'm playing some games, too many apparently. Too many apparently.
Already forgot the games.
Already forget. Sometimes I just be forgoing. But yeah, Tuesdays, Thursdays usually when we're not here talking about plants that are factories, but also plants. Where can the people find you?
Claire says, thanks for those tips. I'll be there. There's that bounty on you after all. Oop. Matt has a bounty on his head. You can find me on social media at Jules the Human, at JULES the Human, on all social media, on X, YouTube, youtube.com/Jules the Human. If you want to watch this podcast, if you missed any of it, watch it live, or if you missed any of it watching live, you can watch it on Fridays on YouTube and on Spotify. Look up the Jules and Matt Anime Hour on Spotify. You can watch it there. I've just been reading a lot of manga, so I've been playing my little games and reading a lot of manga. Bro, I read some Chainsaw Man. That shit's good. I've been
Chainsaw
reading
Man is really good.
some Sakamoto Days. So good. My favorite manga right now. Um,
Hi-Fi Rush was the game I can remember.
years later. But please watch episode 5 through 8 of Trigun Stampede. Talk to us about it in the Discord over there. Give us your thoughts. We would love to hear your thoughts, what you're liking, what you're not liking. We will mention it on the show. Thank you so much for everybody that watched live on Twitch. And episode 5 through 8, Trigun
5,
Stampede.
6, 7, 8.
Watch those before next Wednesday, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.